This is the story of Kurama, as told by Darius the Green Angel. So, a long, long time ago in Demon World, there lived a fox, the, the cunning fox, the legendary bandit Yoko Kurama. He led a band of, or a fleet of, bandits in Demon World. As they like to conquer, different places, not really conquer, but most like, steal different treasures and carry them for themselves. They love stealing, different things. That's why he was called the legendary bandit, Yoko Kurama. And he led like a whole bunch of demons and shit to, where this treasure was and other stuff. He did it for so long that, he got the name, Yoko Kurama, the legendary bandit, in Demon World. And people feared him in Demon World too. He wasn't just some like, regular ass demon. Like he was known and shit. These niggas were like, oh what, this is Kurama. You know, they thought twice before like fucking around with him. Um, However, eventually, years and years passed, and he got careless trying to steal some shit. Um, he got jumped basically. He had less people with him and other stuff. He did it by himself, and he got jumped. So he had to hop into human world. He invaded the body of a young infant that wasn't born yet. He hopped inside and he became a guy named Suichi Minamino. Suichi was still Kurama. Kurama remembered everything about his like past as a demon. He was just like he was in the body of a human boy, and like he acted like a son to a woman who was a human. You know, and he was acting like he was actually her son. And he was. Basically, as he like spent like 15, 16 years with her. Um, Kurama eventually met Hiei, right? He met Hiei when Hiei was, running around trying to find his sister. But there was a demon after, Suichi, one of his, which is Kurama, one of his classmates. You know, this girl like loved Kurama, and she was like following him around and shit. But then she got kidnapped, and then Kurama was like, "I have to save this girl," and he was like, "Okay, I guess I can help you if you help me find my sister." Yeah, or get these items so we can then do that. So they took down a demon together, and that was when he found out that was the legendary demon Kurama, and he's like, "Oh, cool. You might not be a weak ass demon after all. You're cool enough to be friends with another shit. I'll even heed calls to what you have to say every once in a while." That's what he was like. Then they hatched a plan with another demon called Goki, and they went and they started to raid Demon World, or not Demon World, Spirit World. My bad. And they took out and they went into King Yama's vault. And when they went in there, when they did that, two different times. But he, damn, he like he was the one who obtained the Forlorn Hope. It was a mirror. With this mirror, he was able to um, basically whatever he wished for, the mirror would grant, as long as he had something to offer it in return. So a life for a life type thing. As he wanted to bring his mother back, he took the Forlorn Hope. Yusuke was looking for all these like items, as I like said in my other videos and other shit about the other guy's stories and shit, right? So Kurama was like, my mother is sick. I like deceived her for so many years, like acting as if I was like a child when I actually wasn't. and she had to take care of me and love me as if I was her own son. And like, the least I can do is like use the forlorn hope, sacrifice my life, and keep her alive, because she didn't have to do that for me. And he was like, and then Yusuke was like, no, because mothers, cry when they lose their sons and shit. And he was like, um, they survived, and his mother was saved. And then Yusuke got the forlorn hope from Kurama. He was like, I used it for what I needed it for. It's yours now. I don't even want to like fuck around like that no more. But he warned him of Hiei. He was like, Hiei is not like me. He's an actual demon. He will like cut people up. He's dangerous. You have to look out for him. So then Kurama rushed to where Yusuke was fighting against Hiei, and he was able to save the girls. That being Bochan and Keiko. From being attacked by Hiei, and he smeared blood in Hiei's eyes. So then, Yusuke had the opportunity to use Spirit Gun and defeat him. Then Kurama showed up again for Maze Castle. When they got to Maze Castle, he had to hold up the rock that was gonna fall on top of them, the fucking ceiling that was coming down on him. He held that down with Kuwabara and he and Yusuke, and then Hiei went and he destroyed that eyeball demon, and then they got through there, and after that, that's when they started fighting the Saint Beast, right? So the Saint Beast, right? Um, this is what happened. Genbu showed up. Genbu is a stone demon, so he was able to like use the environment to his advantage. As he's Genbu's a stone demon, and he, Yusuke was like, "Yo, are you sure you can beat this guy with a rose?" And he was like, "Yeah, just hold off and shit." He said, "Rose whip," and he started slinging this whip around like, and it like starts, destroying like the rock that is Genbu, and then Genbu starts being like, "Oh, well, um, this is this is not enough because I could reassemble myself." However, Kurama was smart, and he saw um, a glowing red light um, in it, and that was his centerpiece. That was his like membrane that controlled everything. That was the center of his being. With that destroyed, he would be destroyed. So then Kurama, destroyed that rock completely, and then he was destroyed. Genbu was basically a low diff fight for not even. It was a no diff fight for Kurama. Kurama was just playing games, playing Kane like a fox, and that's what he did. So then later, he's fighting against these creatures with Kuwabara, and he has Yusuke's fighting against Suzaku. Then he or Kurama, my bad. He's summoned by Kurama to like see what the fuck Hiei's gonna do. See, Kurama sent Yusuke on a mission to find Terukune as um Hiei's sister was being kept in bondage for her use of creating Hiroseki stones from her tears. And Kurama knew all this, and he also knew that Hiei was like the more violent type, more aggressive, was not the type to hold back on like shit when he's pissed. So Kurama was like, I'll go there and I'll make sure, he calms the fuck down. He doesn't kill a human being, because you don't want us to do that. We have to be, good demons and shit. Even if these humans are fucked up, I have to like stop him from doing that. So Kurama got there just in time to be like, hey, don't kill that guy. He might have done some shit to your sister, but he will, pay the price other way. He was like, he wasn't, happy with it, but he stopped. Then, Kurama was like, all right, they got out of there. He's like, at least you're free, you know, to an extent, you have to like not fuck with humans and stuff. And other things, I can't fuck with them either, but he always reminded him like, but you like this world, I don't like this world. It's harder for me to like fit in, and Karam was like, that might be true, but you are slowly becoming to like humans, these humans that we keep running into, Yusuke and Kuwabara. And with that being said, Kurama was a person that was on Team Urameshi when they went into the Dark Tournament. And they went into the Dark Tournament. Um, Kurama actually taught, Kuwabara how to fight a little bit better, so he wouldn't die in the tournament. He was training with, Kuwabara a little bit before the Dark Tournament. Then they got to the Dark Tournament. Um, Kurama fought against um he fought against who did he fight against? Some guy who had he's like some like fucking weak ass demon really. Um, Blue hair, he could turn his like hands into like fucking like blades and shit. I remember. So this guy was like playing games. He said, "I know you're a strong demon, Kurama, but I got this button right here, and this button, once I press it, your precious mother will die." And he was playing with Kurama, fucking with him. And Kurama was like, "You know what? I won't attack you then. I don't need you to press that so, my mother dies. I don't need her to die. So do what you want with me." He started hitting Kurama, boom, 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 cutting him and slapping him around, you know, punching him and shit too. But then, Kurama hit him with a rock. But that rock was a deceptive act as he actually implanted a seed. He had the death plant sown within him. And it said, bloom. When that shit bloomed, he was dead. He was like, mercy. Kurama was like, there's no mercy killings out here. Not here. And he became a plant basically. There was nothing left but a flower bush. And they were like, damn. And it was like something so ugly created something so beautiful. Crazy. Next round of the tournament, him and Hiei were out in the woods and they had to fight against that fucking monster fucking cyborg thing and this other guy who were playing games. They basically took this the human sensei, the humans that were under Dr. Garaki's control, and hid him in the mountains. So then they had to, find him and then take him back and let them know, hey, your master's all right. You guys got to fight against the brainwashing and shit. He's still here. And then they were able to fight against it and other stuff. And then Yusuke defeated Garaki, and they were, on to the next round. They got to the next round, and it's Team Master or the Shinobi of Spirit World, really. So they got there, and Kurama, he started on a gauntlet real quick, during this time, and he did. These niggas know stuff. People who watch Yu Yu Hakusho, he done ran a gauntlet, basically, because um, he had to fight against Genya. See, Genya was a guy who used paint. This paint could do different things, turn into weapons. Could burn people. All kinds of shit. But Kurama uses Rose Whip and everything else. But Genya, he had different like moves in the back. He was able to like hold Kurama down with like weight, with some of his paint and all kind of stuff. He then like before Genya died, because he made the death plant bloom with inside of him, and he started using a lot of blood. He was like, Crown was like, stop moving around. You're like gonna kill yourself. And he's like, I don't care because I actually win in the end. What he meant by that was his blood was able to seal his demon, like Kurama's demon energy. So then he couldn't even use his rose whip because that relies on his demon energy manifesting forward so he can create the rose whip. So he basically had a flower in his hand going to the next round. And he fought against Toya, an ice demon. See, he was in like, this guy is not like Shiryu. This guy actually, took his lessons and did right. Kurama, you have a fight on your hands. Kurama was like, okay, I'll take that into consideration and stuff. And he was in a fight with him. He started losing blood during this fight. He said, cool. What he did was, and this is what he did to beat Toya. He basically implanted himself with the death plant, but like only in his arm, and like Kurama is able to control how much of the plant gets you know used or how much of it grows. So it grew out of his body, and then he was able to like basically stab um, Toya with it, and that's how he defeated Toya. But it came down to that, and then after that, Kurama was like bloody. He was all fucked up. Um, he like even like he passed out standing up. Then, um, goddamn, that fucking weak ass bitch stepped in the ring. He looked strong and other things. He's a brute strength kind of guy. And he was like, "This guy killed our sect brothers. I'm gonna kill him now." And he started punching Kurama while Kurama couldn't move. And Yusuke was like, "You're a bitch for trying to like do that. For a guy who has all that and like this and that, you are still a bitch because you wanted to like attack somebody when they couldn't even like defend themselves." So Kurama was like taken out, and he was seriously injured and shit. But he got 2 wins for Team Yarameshi. He was like, "I'm sorry I couldn't get more wins." And Yusuke was like, "Nah, man, you've done your fucking work. These people are gonna get worked by me now." And he's like, "Yeah." And then that happened. They defeated the Shinobi of Spirit World. Then it was on to the semifinals. In the semifinals, Yusuke was training. Genkai was training Yusuke, to learn the Spirit Orb and absorb her powers. So Kurama then fought against, after he had got his 2 wins. He fought against some guy. I don't remember his name. Some fucked up name that I don't know how to say. A guy who had a fishing pole. So he he had a fishing pole and the item box. So he had the item box and fishing pole. When he had the item box and fishing pole, he had that right. He used the fishing pole, and Karam was using his world loop, and they were attacking each other. But then, this guy was playing Deceptive Acts. He said, I didn't want to really do this. Shishi Wakamaro and the gang made me do it. I was doing this so I can protect my grandma and all this other stuff. But it was all a lie. And then he opened the item box. The item box basically reverts somebody back to like their infancy. But for Kurama, like I said at the beginning, he wasn't originally a human. He was a demon, a legendary demon called Yoko. And then Yoko Kurama was like present. And that's when it first appeared in the anime during the Dark Tournament in season 2. I think episode about 50 or 60, like 50s, I think. And the episode's called The Legendary Bandit Yoko Kurama. And he, showed up. Um, and he was able to make easy work of that guy. That guy was scared and everything else. He was like, "I'm glad I'm finally back to my full demon self. It's been a while since that's happened. I'm back in all my glory and shit." And he's like, "Damn, I don't know if I can, and he wasn't, he was suffering basically. So Shishi Wakamaru came in and finished him off. Um, Kurama won that. He didn't know how to maintain that form. He knew that he would need it in the next fight against Karasu. See, Karasu was playing games with his fucking hair on the side. Afterwards, and he was like, "God damn, this motherfucker is like trying to like play games and fucking, you know, fuck with my mind and shit." So like, I second guess myself. I have to make sure that I don't, do that during our fight tomorrow. Um, and it ended up being Karasu versus Kurama for the first fight of the finals, and Kurama, he ended up having to use the Yoko form. However, it didn't last long, and um, Karasu, he did go all out. He even lost his mask and his hair turned yellow, because he had glycerin, nitroglycerin, basically. He was destroying Kurama's plants and stuff. However, Kurama was able to like sprout out a plant that was able to like kill him. See, Kurama had killed Karasu. Karasu made him bleed a lot, because he sent a lot of like bombs out, and he was like, fucking Kurama. So what I'm basically trying to say is he fell on the ground, right? Kurama did. Um, when he was getting back up, or well, actually, they were counting that Kurama was down, right? And if they got to 10, then Kurama lost. So they replayed the video, and he killed Karasu within 10.4 seconds. So he was too slow to kill Karasu. So then the win went to Tagoro's team instead of the team Urameshi, and they're like, what the hell? This guy, my guy Kurama, he was able to kill that guy, but he still loses the match, because people play games and other stuff. But they still ended up winning anyways. People fucked around with them the whole tournament, and they still won. Much like me, they like to play games. Mine do too. So, um, the next arc, Kurama was like, Yusuke's been taken. But it didn't sit right with him. He was like, Yusuke being taken because Yusuke's like basically the most powerful person I know. Um, up to this point and shit, right? Something else is going on here. So he was doing that shit, right? Um, and then that happened, right? So that all happened, right? Um, he done did that, right? But um, they go into like the taboo place, right? And in the taboo place, Yu Kaito's there. See, Suichi or Kurama knows Yu Kaito from school. Um, as far as classwork goes and other things in school, Kurama's always the best student. Yu Kaito is the one that's always behind him. He's the second best student in class, and he's like always like, "Damn, Kurama, like, why can't I figure you out? Today I'll figure you out." Um, so everybody didn't heed calls to the fucking words on the fucking wall when they came in, except Kurama because he's smart and he knew that something was up. They all got their soul snatched. Botan, Hiei, and Kuwabara, and he was still there. He was like, "Okay, let me play a game with you. We'll like keep saying words, right, one after each other, and we can't repeat. So basically, you have to say a word of the alphabet. So like, there's 26 letters, right? And then one person says like, I don't know, apple, and then the next person says, you know, body or some shit like that. And then as they say the like beginning letter, that letter is no longer in use. So they can't say any words that begin with A or B anymore. And they keep going down until they get to like, I don't know. But Kurama ended up winning. He had Yu Kaito say the like, repeat a fucking word that began with one of the letters that were canceled out already. And Yukato lost his soul, but then they had to like go up the stairs and find Yusuke, and then they found Yusuke. Kurama was like, nah, Kurama was like, you, um, not Yukaito, but it's not me, the imposter. Yusuke hit the imposter, which was Kuwabara, and it was one of the other guys. That was like kidnapped him, and then the other guy was Shido, and the guy that fucking steps on shadows and shit, and can paralyze people by stepping on the shadow. So Genkai shows up and he was like, I knew this was you, Genkai. I had my suspicions and other stuff. I said, cool. So after no, after that, no, after that, Kuwabara, he went and you know, he did some things. He started to um, help them out. He helped out Yusuke against the doctor, or tried to. He was running around the hospital fighting these Makai insects. Then he cornered the doctor so Yusuke could deliver the final blow. Boom! Smashed his ass out the window. And he almost died too, but then Genkai, kept him alive. So that happened, and then, Sensui came to fight Yusuke, but not just that, to kidnap Kuwabara, and that happened. Kubora, or Kurama saw that shit go down. Then they get to the hideout where they're at. Um, Kurama then eventually has to face against Amanuma. See, Amanuma was a brat. He's like 10 years old or something like that. He followed Sensui because Sensui promised him a whole lot of fun before the world ended. You know, you don't have to go to school anymore. Those people are weak. Telling him all kind of shit. Amanuma was a child. He's impressionable, and he doesn't like school. So he's like, Mr. Sensui is my friend. Whatever he tells me is cool. He basically was able to make Amanuma's power manifest. So like Amanuma loved playing video games. He loved the game Goblin King. Amanuma then, forgot some things. Kurama was like, if you lose the game as the Goblin King and you're defeated as the Goblin King, as you are the Goblin King in this like, reality territory that you created, you will be the one that dies. Like you will actually die. And he was like, I didn't know that. I don't think I'll. And Kurama had to basically kill him. But Koema came through later on and like kept him alive. But he was pissed and he went into like where Sensei was. But then he was met with Gourmet. But Gourmet was actually um the elder Tagoro brother. And he fought against him. He defeated him easy with the singing tree. Had him see all kind of like winning conditions for himself, but like it was just an illusion, gas from the signature, and he was like, he got ate by the tree itself. And then they got trapped inside of a dimension beast. Long story short, then Yusuke dies, right, to Sensui, and then they all, Kuwabara and Hiei and Kurama, he goes into Yoko state, and then he, follows Sensui into Demon World. But they met with the Kakai barrier net. Kuwabara cuts that shit down with his Dimension Sword, and then they get after it. Him and, Kuwabara and Hiei start fighting against Sensui, who has sacred energy in Demon World. Um, that happens, right? And then after that happens, he he fucking does other things. He just is like watching Yusuke. He's basically watching Yusuke fight against Sensui. He defeats Sensui, and then Yusuke's like, "Well, it wasn't me. You gotta bring him back." Kurama's like, he wrote his own fate. I can't help him out now. And then Yusuke was then like at a loss because somebody took over his body, and he wasn't in control when he was like really putting an ass whooping on Sensui. It was his ancestor Ryzen. So in the next season, the final season, he gets a call, or Kurama gets a call from Yomi. See, he's one of the three demon kings of Demon World. And actually, Yomi knew Kurama from back in the day. He was one of his, bandit buddies. However, Yomi rose to power and great strength, and now he was one of the three demons that ruled over Demon World. In a power struggle against Ryzen and Makuro. But he had like the most support probably out of all of them, and the more like grand design, grand idea. He wanted to like unify Demon World and then go after the next worlds, which are Living World and Spirit World. You know, and Kurama knew that, so he went there to like try to like halt his progress and shit, but like make it seem as though he was helping him out, as like he's clever and other things. But he found Yomi and other things. Then Yomi ran by that, Ryzen was about to die, and then after that, they would run on his, territory after he, kicks the bucket. Kurama was like, the second in commands will be different in 6 months. Um, he was like, I can, get you some stronger fighters. Um, Sachi invaded his little brother's mind. At that point, Kurama had a younger brother in the human world, but this little parasite demon was working for Sachi. He's the guy who was in control of Yomi's, you know, assault force, the actual like military. Um, and then Kurama was like, no, 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 you'll work for me now, because I can kill you and stuff. And that parasite demon was working for him. And Sachi was like, what are you doing? I thought you were going to kill Kurama. Kurama ended up bringing Yomi 6 fighters who were in the Dark Tournament 2. Um, Shishiwakamaru and Suzuki, Suzaku, or Suzuka, my bad. And yeah, Rinku, Toya, and Jin, the Wind Master. All those guys. And they all had power levels over 50,000. And that's like more than like their army combined. Like a whole bunch of, like they could have like fought against that army and destroyed it, like all 6 of them. And they were like, Brown was like, I brought you some capable warriors and shit. And he was like, okay, well, that's great. Sachi, you're no longer, needed. So then later that night, and this is in the thumbnail, y'all. That's in the thumbnail for season 4 Kurama. Um, Sachi was playing games. He was trying to hide and play games and be like, this guy's weak. His power level was only like 140. But then he turned into Yoko and he was like, you are a fool. Like, you shouldn't have tried to sneak up on me like that. And he killed him. His power level was actually 140,000. And he was like, damn, this boy was like playing games. Of course, cunning as fox and shit. So then after that happened, right? Um, Kurama went to, he was shown the guy who he hired basically. See, back in the past, Yoko Kurama or Kurama, he hired a guy to go after Yomi and like, cut him down, teach him a lesson because Yomi back in those days would not heed calls to Kurama's orders and like he would get like fucking almost trapped and like almost killed because he would go into these places that were booby trapped and other things and Kurama would always have to save him and shit and he was like, God damn, this boy don't listen. So he hired that guy to like and he cut his eyes out. But then Yomi killed him right in front of him and he was like, I didn't like that you did that to me, but all's forgiven now because that gave me the power to like I don't need to see to like know things. Like my ears are like powerful. I can hear shit that's like miles away and other things. I can hear people's footsteps and my other senses like became better and I became more of a strategist like you and I eventually came, king of demon world and shit, one of them. And he's like, if you do that shit again, you'll have a fight in your hands and you'll probably lose this time. And then, Kurama was like, yeah, that's probably, accurate. But, Yusuke came with a plan. And then, Kurama was like, Yusuke has a proposal for a Demon World tournament. Hey, I'm going to find this tournament as Kurama, just me. I'm down for that shit. And then everybody else chimed in and they were like, yeah, we're going to, like, get down for that shit too. Because it sounds, cool. And it's even and equal. And whoever wins, wins. And we'll just have to fucking live with that. And Yomi was against it at first, but everybody else was like it, and he was like, man, I guess I have to fucking do it. And then, they went into the tournament, and Kurama fought against Hiei. Somebody Hiei had fought like, a couple of weeks before or whatever. And Shigure, the surgeon of death. See, Shigure, he stitched his head back together. And then he was under Makuro's, carrying other shit, right? Or under her camp and other stuff. So he was like fighting. And they fought against one another, and Yoko came out, but Kurama was like, I don't want to be a demon anymore. That'll always be a part of me and shit, and that's who I was. But I, want to live in the human world, so I gotta like try to win this fight as Kurama, not as Yoko. And he was having conflicts, and Shigure was able to pick up on that. And he was like, I can help you out with your problems that you're going through. I am a doctor after all. He's like, no. He knew of something he laid there like years ago, the Oka Ninja root, and he sprouted up, boom, 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 boom. And then once that happened, Shigure was kind of in a bind, literally like the fucking, thorns from these trees and shit, like surrounded his fucking neck. And Kurama was like, I got you in checkmate, basically. And he was like, a swordsman shame, a swordsman doesn't lose twice. So he just fell to his death. Then, Yomi and everybody else came to, Kurama. And Kurama was like, I do what I do. I never forget who I am and shit. I just move forward. That's always a part of me. And that's what he did. And then he watched everybody else win theirs, and well, he saw, actually he saw fucking Hiei and Yusuke lose theirs. But then Enki became the ruler, and then Kurama went back to being a human. You know, every once in a while checking in and telling, Kobar what's going on with everybody else. And Kobar was like, cool, thanks for like letting me know over these past 2 or 3 years, since your Meshi ain't here yet. And he was like, I imagine he'll be coming back and other stuff. And then, he did come back at the end of the series. He was at the beach, and they were all at the beach. They inherited, Genkai's property, which was a whole expanse of woods and shit. And, it ended on like a good note. And that's the story of Kurama for y'all. The one from Yu Yu Hakusho, not, goddamn, I might have to tell that story too. But, stay cool, on the corner.